Suppose we hadn't invaded Iraq, and suppose we hadn't intervened in Libya, and suppose we hadn't supported a proxy war in Syria. If it had been our rule just not to intervene in these manners, invasion, aerial bombardment, and proxy by supplying weapons to jihadists, among others, have you ever just asked yourself how different might the region be?
All the time. And, I think in many ways, the original sin, if you want to use that term, was just as you suggested earlier, was the Brzezinski policy that Reagan put on steroids of trying to drive the Soviets out of Afghanistan, which led to the supporting Mujahideen. Al-Qaeda was a part of that, but supporting jihad and really putting that fundamentalist Salafi ideology on steroids, which has led to so much grief around the world and in the Middle Eastern region writ large. If we had not done that, if we had just left the Soviets in Afghanistan, what were they trying to do? They were trying to introduce secularism. They were trying to take the veils off of women. They were trying to educate women. They had legislated, universal education for women and men. They were trying to do the same things that America was trying to do, oddly enough. Yes, it would have been in their sphere of influence, but they would have choked on Afghanistan all on their own without America sending in Stinger missiles and Mujahideen and pumping up jihadism and Salafism. So what? And in some ways, what's going on in Niger brings up this same question of interventionism. Do we allow a Niger to move into the Russian sphere of influence and allow these people who've taken over, who are probably thugs and no goodniks and so forth, but rather than intervene and potentially push the region into war that would suck in neighbors and produce another Sudan situation, perhaps the best thing to do is to stay out of it, even if it means a Russian predominance for the time being in that region. And I think that's what we should have done in Afghanistan. We've spent over $6 trillion in Afghanistan and Iraq alone, according to the Brown University numbers. It's been a massive waste of money. If we had spent that money on our own education, on rebuilding roads, on, building America back better, we would be so much better off today.
Thanks for watching Nonzero Clips. To hear more of this conversation and others like it, subscribe to the Nonzero YouTube channel or the Nonzero podcast feed. And to gain access to exclusive podcast content, subscribe to Robert Wright's Nonzero newsletter on Substack.